looking south at big expanses of grassland leading up to the peak of Mount Diablo. And in that picture are several different parks, a big private ranch, and a lot of grassland with an urban interface.
On your left is Mangini Ranch at the headwaters of Galindo Creek. In 2007, the Mangini family sold this 208-acre parcel to save Mount Diablo. The family agreed to a price much lower than what they could have gotten from developers because the land had been in the family for 5 generations and they wanted to see it preserved.
It's a beautiful pastoral bowl, mostly grassland with oak savanna. Across the way you see chaparral, there's a completely unusual plant community called desert olive scrub, which is a remnant from when this whole area was like the Mojave Desert.
And it's not just the plants either. There have been records of sagebrush lizard on the summit of Mount Diablo, which is a Great Basin species that you more commonly find much farther to the east. And they probably came here during that same time period when it was much drier and more Mojave-like than it is now.
A lot of species reach their northern limit here at Mount Diablo or black diamond mines because you go north of here and you're at the delta and the waterways separating Northern California from Southern California, and that is an absolute barrier for many things.
The Mangini property has changed a lot in the few years that Save Mount Diablo has been its caretaker.
Galindo Creek through this lower part of the property was completely without vegetation almost, really overgrazed. We got a little grant and fenced off a 7-acre area, including the lower part of Galindo Creek and a pond. We also fenced off 2 springs in the desert olive scrub area and figured that we were going to manage it differently to do some restoration. And before we could really get started with that restoration, all the native bunch grasses started showing up again. And not only were they in large numbers, they were big. But there's always unintended consequences of restoration projects. And one of the ones here is bunch grasses were doing so well, we wanted to keep the cattle out most of the time. So all the other non-natives are doing just as well. The mustard and non-natives are 6 or 8 feet tall.
At some point, Save Mount Diablo will transfer this property to a different land manager.
The Mangini Ranch property will probably be part of Mount Diablo State Park or the East Bay Regional Park District. It's an essential link in Lime Ridge from Lime Ridge Open Space to Mount Diablo State Park.
Next to the Mangini property, directly south of us here, is 2,100 acres owned by the Ginocchio family.
And they don't just own that 2,100 acres. They're the largest ranching family, the largest private landowner in the county, with thousands more acres on Mount Diablo on the east side and in the Marsh Creek area stretching over to Antioch. So a lot of what people assume is part of Mount Diablo State Park already is unprotected, but in the hands of a family that's been a very good steward of their property. Lots of people have this all or nothing idea about grazing. It's either bad or it's good. But grazing is a really important tool, especially in an urban area for fire management. And without it, some rare and endangered species can't really exist. I would prefer tule, elk, and pronghorn, and one day we hope to see them come back. And I would also prefer to see a 2,100-acre ranch than a big, huge expanse of development.
On one April day, these fields are full of a gold flower called fiddleneck. Its blooming schedule is a little different each year.
And there are various kinds of things that set the spring clocks. One of the most essential is the first big heat wave. Just like tiger salamanders in dwindling puddles know from the temperature of the water, they know that the water is going to start drying up and they've got a limited period of time to make and set seed.
Now retrace your steps to the bench at the top of the peak. It's about a half mile from here, which will take maybe 15 minutes or so. Once you're there, we'll describe the rest of the route and some intriguing things you might see along the way.